All right,
We should freestyle on the next one. That would be awful. I am not a freestyler. I've been in bands and different music projects for as long as I can fucking remember, and lyrics have always. And I've been writing quote unquote poetry since I was a teenager, but lyrics are hard.
lyrics are awesome. You just say fuck a couple times. That's what I do.
Well, yeah.
Talk about your dick.
Well, again, I don't do hip hop, so if I did, that's
Before we get too started, So next week we're going to be live on YouTube.
Not next week.
Well, the next
11th.
podcast,
February 11th, 2022.
Perfect.
What year is it, Dan?
February 11th. Yes, we will be live on YouTube.
It'll be more in the evening, probably. I don't know, like somewhere between 4 and 6 Mountain Time. We haven't really boiled that down.
I'll put a link to the channel in the podcast description so people can go subscribe and see it when it actually goes live.
There you go. I'm gonna push some stuff on Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. So if you follow us there, we'll put a link on the YouTube version of this video or this audio. Yeah, we're gonna play a video game and bullshit live. So we'll see how quick it takes us to get banned.
Hell yeah, I can't wait.
So a little something different. We're going to try to do this like maybe once a month or once every couple of episodes or whatever. Just try something a little bit different. And YouTube has, much like Twitch, I think, has like a people can comment and stuff, right? Like the chat.
Yeah, a live chat.
Live chat. Does YouTube do that, Adam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And people actually, during a lot of live streams, people actually donate and,
Ooh, we could open up donations. I'm down with that. So make some bullshit merchandise.
Make some bucks. Make some quick bucks.
Some bullshit merchandise.
God.
that just rolls off the tongue. So, yeah.
And we're planning on making it festive. Very, very festive.
And by festive, we mean fucking ignorant in the style that you would expect us to be fucking ignorant. So, yeah, we're going to try to have some fun with it. It's going to be a little bit different than the horrible, boring shit that we put you through on these podcasts. But some of you fucking weirdos keep listening. We've got a couple folks that usually after we post the episode, within a couple of hours, I'll get messages, smart ass comments from people about shit that we've talked about. It's fun. I enjoy it. We're actually, and the 11th will be basically be our 2-year anniversary that we've been doing this. We started on Valentine's Day in 2020, actually.
Yeah. That's a fun listen. Because we're talking about how COVID's not really going to be that big.
Yeah. I went back and listened to it too. I was like, that didn't age well, did it? It's not going to, it'll be fine.
Yeah, so. It'll be like a cold.
Yeah. We're going to be doing the live thing. At some point, maybe the next one after that, I'm going to figure out how to get Rich to fucking dial in and for like a 2-year anniversary episode. So, because you go back and listen to him and he's a jackass. I miss him.
We will teleport him in from 1987.
Right. Yeah. We'll bring him in from 1987 and see what we can do. Hell, I might just have him come down here to the apartment and just sit here and fucking do it live. So I don't know. We'll come up with something. My ADD train. We were talking about hip hop and about lyrics and saying dick a lot. And we were talking about Elon Musk, and Adam said he's not a big fan. And I kind of like the guy. But on the flip side of that, right, Adam is a Kanye West fan and I'm not. But I did see an interview with him that was really fucking interesting because the guy asks him, there are people that say that you have turned your back on the culture. And he says, I absolutely have. And he said, the culture is that we're supposed to be running around in like these foreign cars and rapping about fucking other people's women and, about going to prison. He said, but then we turn around and we want prison reform, and it's interesting to see that and hear that, because it's something that I've always kind of noticed myself, right? Is that you don't have to, it seems like kind of slavery or pushing people down is more of a mentality now. And you can do it with pop culture. You can do it with putting people into this idea that that's what's important. And Kanye's like, why don't you go take that money that you're spending on, a Mercedes and go buy some land, go buy some property somewhere. But that's just not what pop culture is at all. White, black, or in between. Pop culture is about, excess and who's got.
Well, it's not exciting to buy land.
I mean, and I guess that's it, right? It goes back to dopamine,
yeah. And oh my God, I just bought this land. I can't wait for 20 years when it appreciates.
But as a mid-40s white guy, that excites the fuck out of me. I would love to buy some land somewhere. That's
no
actually
offense, Stan. I don't think mid-40s white guy is the target demographic for most pop music.
For most pop culture in general, right?
Yeah,
I guess it's time. Hello, fellow kids.
It's like people that think they'll never get old is kind of the target demographic.
Yeah, that's fair. And I feel old as fuck these days. Well, that'll happen when they fucking embroider live, laugh, love on your abdomen with mesh.
You've been branded.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like a little rose and like a fucking a smiley face on one side, so shit still hurts. But yeah, buying property, I would love to buy a couple of acres somewhere. It doesn't have to be special. It doesn't have to be fucking, but to be able to go and sit on my property and it's mine, that excites the fuck out of me.
Yeah, you would like Yellowstone.
I refuse to get into any more shows right now, but the chick on there is so fucking hot, it's painful.
Yeah,
the British chick that's not British on the show, but she's, dear God, she's hot. It's weird what I think, honestly, the older I get, personality and attitude is a lot hotter than, physical features. Now, again, she's built, right? It doesn't hurt that she's fucking banging, but I was having this conversation with somebody, back in my 20s, if you were hot, you'd own me. I mean, if you were hot, or what I thought was hot, because that's subjective, you'd fucking own me. I'd be a dumbass, right? I'm in love. And now I'll meet, physically attractive women and they open their mouth and I'm like, ew. I'm just like, nope. And people, you still fuck them though? No, actually I wouldn't. I'm not.
You've learned.
You do. You do.
You've been classically trained to know that when you fuck a woman that acts like that, it leads to bad things.
Pavlov got nothing on my wiener. So, Pavlov's wiener. Right, Doug?
Schrodinger's scrotum.
Schrodinger's scrotum.
Well, I mean, most
it's both
people
there and not there.
Most people go through that because, in your teens and your 20s, your hormones are still raging.
Touche.
Like a motherfucker.
Touche, man.
And it's like, go out and plow the universe.
Yeah, it's about procreating.
And then after you've done that, there comes some time, it's usually somewhere in your 30s, where you sleep with somebody that you found physically attractive, and then you go to have a conversation, and then you're like, and sometimes even in your 20s, you're like, oh God, what have I done?
Oh, dude. Goes back to the old, we've discussed this many, many times, the old post-nut clarity. What have I done has been muttered by me more than once in some chick's apartment or trailer or
it's such a mom's house. It's a weird thing because you truly don't understand till you nut.
No, it is true. And it's what kills me is that, they say insanity, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I think sex is like that with a lot of people, right? You ignore red flags, you ignore so many things to get into bed, and then you nut, and the brain chemicals fucking settle and do whatever they do, and then you go, oh, I've made a terrible mistake. Yeah, this was a bad idea. And then go ahead, Doug. Sorry.
A good analogy would be going to the grocery store hungry.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Right. And what kills me is then when you'll think to yourself, okay, this was a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. And then a couple of days later, he or she hits you back up and you're like, how you doing? It's like, Dan, did you forget about 48 hours ago when you were laying in their apartment thinking this is a terrible fucking idea? Did you forget all about that? Your fucking dick's like, hey, you brain, shut the fuck up.
Send all the blood down here, buddy. You don't need it.
Yeah, I got all the blood for a reason right now there, Skippy. And, I have joked, but it's true. I've done it. That before you go out on a date or before you go out or whatever the case may be, jerk off, flick the bean, do whatever gets you where you need to be, dude. Don't go to the grocery store hungry. Don't go out with a loaded gun. Whatever fucking analogy you want to use.
That never works for me.
There have been nights where I have not gone out after jerking off. I'd be like, I'm going to go out tonight. We're going to go to the bars, take the bike out, do the stuff and the things. And I'm like, feeling a little ornery. Going in, do my business. I'm like,
what's on Netflix?
I think I'm just going to fucking hang out at the apartment tonight.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't work for me. I never end up going out after. I'm just like, I want to be home right now.
Right?
But
it did work for you because it kept you out of trouble. It kept you from getting into dumb situations. It saved you money. I'm telling you, man, you should just never go out wound up like that. If you're horny and you're thinking on a Friday night, you're going to go out to the bar and find you a piece of whatever you're into, I'm telling you, it's a bad fucking idea. It just is. I've, please use my experiences as, whatever. That's funny, man. It just is. And mid 40s and I'm still feel like I'm fucking 20. I'm a horny old, dirty old man. So,
someone told me once, they were really old and they were like, I haven't changed since I was your age. Now I just look in the mirror and I'm old.
There's a lot of truth to that.
That's kind of scary.
There's a lot of truth to that. I don't feel 44, right? Like, well, I do when my fucking nuts are on fire because of surgery or because I sneeze and fucking throw my back out. Cat Williams had a great fucking skit on that. He's limping and somebody's like, hey man, what happened? Did you get into a fight? Whatever. Nah, I just got out of bed too fast. And that's when you feel your age. But mentally, dude, there are days I feel 17. There are days that I feel like I don't have a fucking clue what I'm doing. There are days that I feel incredibly immature and out of sync with like my body and the years that I've been on this planet.
Isn't it weird that like you have the power to do whatever you want, even though you still have no idea?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think about like, the movies where like the adult will get zapped back into their body when they're 17 or whatever,
Yeah.
And personally, like for me, that would be a personal hell for me because you'd be young and virile and have all this energy, but that was 17, and
you may not fall into the exact same traps, but you would still fall into traps.
Sure.
Because there are biological reasons that you behave that way at that age. And it's not all about your sex drive. Your sex drive is a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you took me, it's like I'm a fairly well-balanced adult. I've got my quirks. I've got shit I'm weird about. But if you take me and you put me back into 17-year-old Doug brain,
right?
I mean, just biologically speaking, what happens as your body grows, and especially as your brain grows, when you hit your teenage years, all of the centers that are responsible for creativity, they light on fire and they grow first. And what stops, you effectively your bullshit filter is your prefrontal cortex, everything in the front of your head. And that is the last thing to form.
I'm still waiting for mine. For the record, still waiting for that one to close off.
I'm not going to argue with you there. So, if you sit there and put me back in 17-year-old Doug brain, it would be like I would know that there are some things that I need to do, but biologically speaking, I necessarily wouldn't be able to stop myself.
I think for me, the only positive to that would be that I could go back and tell myself to just chill the fuck out. I mean, because there was normal 17-year-old...
Because that works.
Right. There's normal 17-year-old angst and shit that I went through, but then with my background and my upbringing, there was a lot of bullshit that I dealt with that I shouldn't have had to. And I think having an adult around that gave a fuck about me, even if it was me in my own body, this is getting weird, then it would have... I always wonder what I would be like today if I would have had even one decent fucking role model, or just one person in my life that seemingly gave a fuck about me and tried to help me do the right thing, instead of what I went through. And that would be the interesting thing, is to see if you took me now, put me back then in a more, but then Doug's got to throw in fucking biology, and he's right. And I'm like, God damn it. I'd be the same fucking mess, but I'd be an arrogant bastard because I'd have a 44-year-old brain in there going, duh, what the fuck, George? But that's one of the things that I go to therapy. I think most people know that. If they don't know that, they should know that. And you should probably be in therapy too. But I talked to my therapist about that, about always being curious about what would happen. And she's actually very interested in me doing. She said that about third or fourth session, she thought to herself, this dude would make an incredible counselor. And she finally said something about it. She said, have you ever thought? I said, well, yeah. I said, but I'm 44 years old, dude. I'm not going to go get a fucking master's degree and go that route. I'm just not. I looked into being a life coach, but the more I read up on life coaches, dude, that is a scam. That is such a fucking scam, dude. I'm like, I don't even want to be called a life coach.
It's for shredded millennials who don't actually know what they're doing.
You couldn't tell that from the face of it?
I felt like it was one of those things where that it was kind of dumb and shitty, but maybe on the back end, maybe there was some decent, but everything I've researched, it's just trash. I think Adam's right. It's for people that didn't have fucking parents that need some, I don't know. I don't even know. It's such a fucking mess. Your Tony Robbins kind of bullshit.
All you got to do is just wake up and go get it.
Go get it, man.
That'll be $200.
Right. It's all catchphrase, and it's really, and they even say it's more about marketing yourself and branding, teaching people to brand themselves and things like that. And I'm like, hold up. I want to help people stop fucking generational trauma. Maybe I'm aiming too high here. But she said she wants to talk to me about some of my options. And I'm guessing, I have a sneaking suspicion, because she worked with young boys for like 15 or 20 years before she changed practices. And I have a sneaking suspicion she's going to want me to do like, what do they call that? Big Brothers. And, stuff like that. And I'm
being a mentor.
A mentor, right. And I'm very seriously considering it, where a few years ago, I'm a little nervous about it, but I think that means that I'm serious about it. Like, if you're not nervous going in knowing that you're helping to shape the mind of a young person, then you should fuck off. You should be a little nervous. But I'm actually thinking about doing it at some point. I don't know that I'm ready yet. because I do think about that. And I think about, again, I've said before, I think on the podcast, that if one person hears a story that any of us tell, or if somebody hears anything that any of us share and it makes them feel a little less fucking weird or alone or whatever the case may be, then I feel like I've done more for humanity than a lot of people have, or that we've done more for humanity than a lot of people have. And to think that the Bullshirt podcast is a humanitarian effort makes me giggle. But a lot of what we share, I think all three of us are like that all three of us are pretty good people, and we do want people to be happy and healthy and everything.
You know what I hate?
Me?
Well, yeah, but like I hate a lot of things, but Fair enough. Was about something else specifically.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
So like when I started working in like a corporate environment, there are a lot of people that like don't want anything out of life. Like they just want to like buy like a boat, and then like that's all that they want.
Yeah.
And that's very strange to me, because like you're not, like, I'm a creative person, and it feels like there's like so few creative people like in that world. Like they just want to get like stuff, and then that's it.
Well, and I think that's because creative people don't thrive in corporate environments. Corporate environments are autonomous, beehive-like environments, and it is about the money.
Well, I've known a lot of creative people. It's not the vast majority by any stretch. It's more like, it would best be described as like the 3%. And the people that I've known that were creative in the industry, it was just a means to an end. It was, right. I do this other stuff. I'm here to get a paycheck and have health insurance.
Right.
And, and that kind of happens, but, it's a totally different environment when you get into the corporate world, the technical world especially, because like people that get really good in technical stuff, throw a rock, hit a person who's somewhere on the spectrum.
On the spectrum, we were just talking about that, right? I mean, we work in tech, and a lot of the folks, I joke, but I'm kind of being serious, that I believe a lot of them are on the spectrum. A lot of them are autistic, Asperger's, because socially they're somewhat awkward and they have a difficult time. But if you put them into zeros and zeros and ones, sorry, they go nuts. You start talking logically and they go nuts. Whereas being creative is typically the opposite of logical. I think that some of us, Adam, myself, we kind of walk that line in between. I'm actually a very logical person, but I'm also very creative. And I've known people that were creative and they made their living off of it. I tried music and realized that I wasn't talented enough, is what it boils down to. And I know this now. I had the drive, and there is something to be said about bands like, fucking Green Day and shit that aren't super talented, but they were able to write catchy songs, do the fucking thing, package them up, sell them. I didn't have that opportunity. I didn't do that. I did photography for a while and tried to make money off of it. Again, just I'm not good enough is what it boils down to in the creative market. So now my creative side, which I don't foster as much as I should, I've actually been thinking about that a lot lately, is really just an outlet and for fun. I think for some people, and I was one of them, when your creative side starts to become your means of eating, it can fuck with it a little bit, Yeah. And like I do my videography and my photography and stuff like that. And people have asked me, they're like, man, you're pretty good. I'm like, I'm really not in the grand scheme of things, but to someone who has no idea how to use Adobe Premiere, yeah, I look like I know what I'm doing. And they've asked me, man, have you ever thought about doing this? I bought the drone, and I've had people ask me if I've ever thought about like monetizing that and everything. And the answer has been a resounding no. Um, for me, my income will always be on that corporate side, but I fully understand what Adam's talking about. Like the people that just have no real ambition
Yeah, they just
besides.
lose me. They're like, "Oh yeah, I went on vacation here and it cost this much," but I'm like, "I don't care how much your vacation costs." And they're like, "Yeah, and then I bought this car and it cost this much." And I
Mhm.
I I turned around and I told him I was only going to give him. I'm like, I don't like. What do you actually want to do in life?
Right. And they don't. The thing is, though, Adam, is that there are a lot of people out there who have zero ambition to do anything. And there are days that I question what I want to do. Um, those days usually end in Y and start with every. Um, but my music and my what little art I do and the photography and all that, it keeps me happy. It keeps me. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When somebody compliments one of my photos or whatever, like I don't want people to tell me I'm good just because they're my friends. That's an echo chamber, right? Just like politics or anything else. If you get into this thing where everyone's like, and dude, we've all known that guy. We've all known that person that their fucking parents gave him a participation award or something. For me, it was in photography. Like I know that I'm not a great photographer, right? I'm decent at it. Like most of my stuff doesn't suck. If I post something or I show it to the public, it's decent, right? And some of them have been really good. But I've known people that, I mean, he's a great fucking photographer. And I look at us and I'm like, no, he's not. There's no composition. He doesn't understand how his camera works. I can tell by the photo, there's whatever. And people are like, well, it's subjective, man. You gotta understand it. I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm done.
I hate it when
Um,
someone says something's good and then when you argue, they're like, "Oh, it's subjective."
it's subjective, right? And it's like, okay, well then don't call it good. Say,
I
I
like it.
find this appealing.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. I mean, art's the same way. I understand it's subjective, and I understand that what I like might not be what the next guy likes. Music's the same way, right? It's there is Adam every now and again be like, no, dude, that is objectively bad. And that always cracks me up because he takes the time to put objectively, basically letting me know, no, Dan, this is not about opinion. This is trash. You know it's trash. I know it's trash. Everybody knows it's trash. And that always amuses me because he's usually right. I usually agree with him wholeheartedly. Um, but yeah, there are a lot of people like that, and I know exactly the type of person you're talking about. Some people, money is really all they want to achieve. That they make more money than the next guy, and I get it, right? It's like the caveman having more sticks and fire than the other guy. It means he's going to have a more comfortable evening when he's not cold. I get it. And that's really all money does, right? Is it offers opportunities or it releases stress. I think we've all three had this conversation where there was a time where I had a car that I went through, I think like 2 or maybe 3 spare tires. Like I was borrowing spare tires off of other people and then it would blow and I'd put another spare tire on it because I couldn't afford the, I don't know, $60 or whatever it was for a tire. And now I'm rocking, I think my tires run about 250 a piece on that fucking Jeep. And if one of them blew out, just shredded itself, I could go buy another one, right? And it wouldn't mean me having to decide if
Yeah.
I eat or if I pay a bill or whatever. When's the last time either one of you were at the gas station and watched the pump while it was running to make sure you didn't go over what you had in your pocket, right?
No, I usually get back in my car and light a cigarette
Light a cigarette and leave it running and play with matches. I've seen
and
those
rub my
dudes.
arm against the seat to build up static.
Get some static going, see if we can we're going to test that sticker. And that's what I like about money. I'm not a big I don't need tons of money. Adam and I just had a really good conversation about this I don't know, a couple weeks ago about the more money you make, the more money you spend, right? And that's just it's all of us. We all do it. And what's funny is that for me, I make a very comfortable salary. I'm very happy with my life in that sense, right? But every now and again, I'll find myself thinking, "Oh, I need to make more money." No, you don't, Dan. You need to stop fucking spending it on
you need to
stupid
spend
shit.
less. Yeah.
Right. I'm looking around at the stupid shit. I just said I have a drone.
I actually, I got my budget in order a few months ago, and as soon as I stopped like spending stupid, like just buying stupid shit or like doing DoorDash like fucking
3
multiple
days
times a day,
Yeah.
I was like, I like thought I forgot to pay a bill. I was like, why is all this extra money in my account?
Why do I have money? What the fuck? Why do I have money? Right. And I've done the same thing. Not about a year ago, I kind of had that same thought and cut back my spending. And I swear to God, I had the exact same thought. I was going, something's wrong. I have a little more in here than I think I should. And we talked about the DoorDash. I remember I was like, dude, how much you spending? You're like, I don't want to talk about it. And when people ever ask me, they're like, oh, just DoorDash something. I'm like, no, I'm not paying $32 for a fucking cheeseburger.
I will tell you off the record, but it was a lot, dude.
It was a goddamn a lot 50. That's what it was.
Once I added it up, I was like, I am uninstalling this fucking shit from my phone.
I love it. And that's it's common. I think we all do it, and there's a difference between you should enjoy your money. You should enjoy having some cash. You should enjoy being able to buy things and stuff like that. But when you're racking up credit card debt and you're just buying everything that you want, and then you're complaining that you don't make enough money, but right, you're door dashing every day, you're doing Starbucks every day, whatever the case may be. But again, pop culture and keeping up with the Joneses and all that, it wants you to be a consumer. I mean, look at the word consumer. They want you to spend that money and give it to them, and that's fine. But think about what you're getting for that money, like going out and buying property or, excuse me. My big thing is being debt free. You go back in time and they had debtors prisons, and I kind of think that debt is a modern prison, or it's still a prison today, right? Because when you get just jacked up on debt, man, you've got tens of thousands of dollars in credit cards and a car that you don't need or whatever. You got to keep jobs you don't want. It's that simple, right? We all know people. Go ahead.
How they mint billionaires, because that we've discussed this part quite a few times, where being broke costs you more money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fees and fines and percentages and credit ratings and all of that.
And the shitty thing that you have to buy that you're going to have to buy 6 of.
Yeah, because you can't afford the good one.
The one that's not going to break.
Yeah. Take the bus and can't ever afford a car because you're, constantly paying to take the bus and things like that. Yeah, absolutely. So what do you mean by minting billionaires, Doug?
Well, you have to have a sort of think of it like a reverse funnel, in order for, and while this is not always true, it's true of people that have opened these check cashing businesses, these payday loan businesses. I was trapped in one of those myself right around the time that I was Adam's age, before I wised up, and they did the thing, a nice introductory offer. Hey, you've got 6 weeks to pay us back. And I was like, okay, this isn't necessarily a bad deal. I need money right now, and I give them a little bit more money back. And then as soon as they've got you in it, and they wanted you to borrow the maximum amount, whatever it was that you actually needed. Let's say your power got shut off in 19 90s or early 2000s, power bill, your past due power bill was like $180, and you were going to borrow $200 so you could pay off your power bill, and then in turn, get your power cut back on, whatever else. And then when you got paid, it was, $200, which was more substantial to me back then, but it was still conceivably doable. But their maximum was $500, and they just kept pushing that the entire time. So I borrowed what I needed that first time. And then when I came back through the door for something else that happened, because, back then I looked at my checking account like, this is all my money. This is all the money that I have. And it was like it was my mission in life to spend it all. So, it was like it was a goal just to see it at fucking zero. But
it's like DB, you got to keep them at zero, man. It's perfect.
Yeah. So, once I went back and I actually borrowed the maximum amount, it was $500. It took me about 3 months to get out of that.
Yeah.
And in that 3-month time period, what they would do is once they got you to borrow that maximum amount, they would set the loan term at the minimum they were legally allowed to. Because if you don't have $500 right now, odds are you're not going to have a spare $500 10 days from now.
Yeah. And they get you, they get you inside of a fucking feedback loop.
Right. So it was like you would come in, pay them the money, and then immediately turn around and borrow that $500 back, which was costing you $100 and some odd every time. So they're making $130 every 10, $125 every 10 days. So you take that $125 every 10 days, multiply that by 3 months. There you go. Yeah. That's how they are making their money. And those people that started those places went from like one location to like
Dollar General
200 locations.
Yeah. Dollar General fucking locations.
In the span of a year. And those people were making so much money hand over fist that they did not know what to do with it. And that's what I'm talking about. It's that reverse funnel. You've got all these people each contributing their own $125 to this guy's back pocket every 10 days. Yeah, they've got so much money they don't know what to fucking do with it.
And I think, I got caught up in one of those ones too, kind of a similar situation. Yeah, like you said, power bill, probably about Adam's age, maybe a little younger, went and, like fucking 60% interest or whatever they were. And
what the fuck?
Yeah, it wasn't that high, but it was dumb.
No, it was hundreds or thousands when annualized as an APR.
Yeah.
Because if you borrow $500 and you pay $125 in interest on a 10-day period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nasty. It was fucking nasty. And I kind of got in the same thing, right? And like he said, it took me like 3 months to pay off $500. And it goes back to what he was saying about, it costs money to be poor. Like, I think my vehicle loan when I got it was 2% or something like that. But I was also rocking an 830 on my credit score, which I had been grooming for about 2 years to get right where I wanted. But and the argument is, well, Dan, you're not a risk. You're not a risk. I wasn't a risk when I had a 650. I had a bad run with fucking medical bills and some stupid decisions when I was 18. That Hyundai that I had, I actually paid 12% interest on my car loan.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Because I had bad credit. And they're like, well, you're a risk. Okay, so I'm a risk, and your answer to that is to charge me 10 times what?
We don't think you can pay it, so we want you to pay more.
So we're gonna right, and that's and the argument as well, in case you default or whatever. Brother, if I default on this fucking loan, that 12% ain't no different than a 2%. You still didn't make your money back. You made some money, but you didn't make your money back. You know,
Yeah.
I had lost my job or something, was freaked out because I was going to miss a payment. I called him up and I was almost in tears, like, because I liked my car and I wasn't trying to be that guy, you know. And this dude's just like, because I was like, please don't take my car. And the guy's like, Mr. Adams, we don't want your car. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And they skipped that payment and tacked it on to the end of the loan. And I was like, okay, cool, right? But the idea that because you're high risk, you pay more back really doesn't make sense. You can argue with me and you can say, well, it's because we got to make our money and all that. Right. But it's okay. Okay. So I got a 2%, right? With an 830. So then math wise, and Doug will tell you, Dan, no math good, right? But just hear me out.
Damn right. No math good.
Dan, no math good. If I have an 830 and you give me a 2%, then a 415 should be a 4%. Just saying, relatively speaking, right? It's half as good, so you charge me twice as much. I'm just saying, just a random thought. But no, that would be like a 15%. And back to what Adam said, you know, we think you're a risk, so we're going to charge you more that you can't afford anyway. It's a scam, man. And I was reading up and actually watching some videos, not congressional, but like where they were kind of having the hearings on Navient, right? And for a long time, I have been very anti clearing of student loans because I feel like these people they said, I want to borrow money. I want to borrow money for school. You know, you chose to sign on that dotted line, right? But the more I watch and the more I see what Navient was doing, I'm easing up on my stance a little bit.
What were they doing?
Yeah, well, that's the easy thing to do because just like payday loan places are predatory,
right?
The college loan industry got in bed with the government. I think it was back in the 80s or the 90s. And they got in bed with the government hard enough to the point where if you file personal bankruptcy, like
you still can't
get rid of your student loans.
Yeah, right.
So there was lots of fuckery. You know, it's like
there was.
On the face of it, you would think paying back your student loans would be a straightforward deal. And it's one of those things that it sounds logical. It's very easy to digest. And you think, oh, okay, you know, hey, you borrowed the money, you fucking pay it back because, you know, everybody else, you know, going about their normal lives who doesn't necessarily have a student loan is just thinking this works like any other loan. Like,
right.
Hey, I drove the car off the lot.
Right.
You know,
I should pay it off.
I should pay for the car.
Right.
But, you know, there was a time in my 20s, and I forget the name of the technical college. I walked in and I was like, you know, I want to get a little bit more into computers and networking and the whole nine yards. I think it was like IT something.
ITT?
Yeah,
ITT Tech.
Yeah. So I went down there.
Go to try to find them nowadays.
Yeah.
I talked to a guy who was going there, then like the next year they got shut down.
They're gone.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is prior to that, I had gone to a community college for a little while. Obviously didn't finish it up. I think I've commented on that before. And I looked at the cost that ITT Tech was charging versus the classes that I would pay for at Wallace, and the classes that I would pay for at Wallace would have been literally 20% of the cost of ITT Tech. And when they showed me that number, and then the next immediate thing that they did after they showed you the number was tell you how they could arrange your financing
Mhm.
options. So they made money off of
Yep.
you both ways.
Yep.
And what they were charging you to go there, I could have, easily have went, because, there's a lot of colleges in Alabama, judging by the population, you wouldn't necessarily
Yeah.
think that, but there are.
Nobody goes to them, but they're there. So.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all
and
out of state.
yeah, the one of the most expensive ones there was Stanford, not Stanford,
Yeah,
but
Stanford. I know Stanford.
STAM for
What a
well, I'm
scam.
just do it in Stanford.
McDonald's.
Well, Stanford was a private college. It
Mhm.
received no public funding. Since it didn't receive any public funding, it was more expensive.
Mhm.
For what it would have cost me to go to ITT Tech, I could have gone to fucking Stanford.
Mhm. And had a more, like, I know people in the IT industry that there were a couple of colleges like ITT, Phoenix, some of those the private
Like
schools like
DeVry and shit
that
like that.
DeVry, yeah, they just ignored those. Like they had no weight because they were diploma mills. Yeah, and I had a similar experience to yours, Doug. I went to ITT, kind of the same thing, and the reason I pulled back was because I did like one of their entrance exams, and they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to take all your prerequisites," and I'm like, dude, I've been in advanced English since I was in like 7th grade. When I was in 7th grade, they used to bus me to a college with some other people for a 2-hour class. I went and wrote with college level people. Like my grasp of the English language has always been pretty strong. Again, Dan no math well, but his English brain is pretty decent. And they're like, no, you botched all that. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, can I see the results? I'd like to see. And they're like, no, that's like private information. But it was me. Like,
What a
I
scam.
did it. Well, and that's what I literally told the woman. I said, this is a fucking scam. I was like, you won't show me what I missed on any of it. I was like, the math, I know it started to get into like some algebra and shit that I couldn't remember how to do. I was like, I always expect when I would go back to college that I was going to have to do the math portion again. But like the English and some history stuff and things like that, any of that prereq stuff, I was like, I don't believe you. I'm a smart guy. This is bullshit. All I wanted to see was the actual results, right? You got 17 out of 38 correct or whatever, and they wouldn't show me that. They're like, no, we don't show that to you. And I was like, oh, then I'm not giving you my money. And then, yeah, about a year or two later, I was reading where the fucking government was investigating ITT, and then ITT's like, no, we're just going to shut the doors.
So the thing is, we were about to close down anyway.
Right, yeah. Doors are locked, furniture's gone, you can't sue us, bye-bye. But I was watching this thing on Navient, and they were showing where like the average call to like their call centers and shit is 7 minutes. They're actually encouraged to get people off the phone as quickly as they can. So again, they're not helping anybody. But this guy says at the end of his little rant, he says, he goes, why don't we treat, he said it was like 44 million Americans or something like that were struggling with their student loan debt. And he said, why don't we treat American people like we treated the banks? He said, because 44 million people are too big to fail. And that, I was like, well done, sir. Right. You nailed that one, because he's right, man.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw a little clip from that online.
Yeah, and I don't know who the guy was. He was funny, and he was really irritating the fuck out of Congress or whoever the fuck they were doing. He was really irritating the shit out of them, and which was amusing to me. But he's right. Like, you can say whatever you want about, like I said, I had this opinion that, well, they should just pay it back. But again, if you've got 44 million people struggling to pay their fucking bills because of these student loans, and yet a few years ago, we bailed all the banks out when they were, ass over fucking head in debt and fucked. We were just like, oh, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. You don't have to pay anything back. It's all cool.
I mean, you kind of need consumers just as much as you need banks.
There
right?
you go.
Like, if
you
no
really
one has
need
any money to spend, then your economy kind of, collapses.
You got 44 million people that can't buy food, and they can't buy medicine, and they can't buy all these things. That's going to hurt your economy. It's going to hurt your infrastructure. It's going to hurt your country in general.
Well, let's bring this back around. When the COVID relief payments came out, Wall Street went nuts. You know why Wall Street went nuts? And it goes back to exactly what we were talking about earlier. It cost you more money to be poor.
Yeah.
And newly minted billionaires make their money off of the backs of the poor.
Yep.
And as soon as they knew all those relief payments were going out, Wall Street went nuts because all of them were looking forward to a big fat payday because they knew for a majority of the Americans that were eligible for those COVID relief payments, not all, but a majority, as soon as that money hit their hands, they had, debts to pay, or, they were going to be able to do something for themselves. They knew that as soon as that money came in, and it was going to be a boon to those people, but they knew it was going to go right back out the door. So Wall Street, started breaking records as soon as those COVID relief payments went out.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I kind of had the same opinion of the COVID relief payments. I was like the first one didn't bother me. The second one was like, okay. And then there was talks of a third. I'm like, all right, folks, calm down here. I'm watching my tax dollars. And again, I'm not anti-welfare. I'm not anti-Medicaid or anything like that. I'm a fan of all of it. I used welfare for a couple of years when I was married the first time. But it was starting to get like, okay, hold up. And I remember somebody got offended by that. And they told me, well, did you turn your check back in? And I said, I never got one. I said, I didn't fit the criteria, and they were like, oh, I'm like, yeah. So,
flex.
And I'm like, yeah, really. And it wasn't supposed to be, right? But it was like, I didn't get one, and I don't mind that they did this because this is an unprecedented thing. And the second one again, but then it started to look like it was more for political reasons. People are like, oh, look at all this money I'm giving you. And I am not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of government handouts. I'm not a fan of the Fed to begin with. I think the federal government has gotten way too fucking big, but that's a subject for another podcast. It baffles me that people don't understand where that money was coming from, right? They're just like, oh, the Feds are giving us all this money. Where do you think?
Just wait till the end of the year, buddy.
Right. And that's another thing. I have to wonder how many people with tax time. I was talking to somebody last night about that. She was saying that, with all that stuff, that taxes are a little weird this year as far as all the paperwork she has to have and all that. And I was like, yeah, I mean, there's nothing for free. And for those of you that don't know, those COVID payments come from people's taxes, people like me who did not get a check but pays into my taxes. And again, I want to reiterate,
it came from everybody's
from everybody's taxes, right? Yeah, not just Dan. Like Dan did not pay all of the COVID payments. No, but I mean, even world.
People that qualified for the check were paying into it in taxes.
Fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So it's not free money.
Plus, the federal government had to, while it wasn't the sole cause of it, we were running $1 trillion deficits as far as a lot of that money was borrowed. So it's not necessarily equivalent to say all of us paid into it. What's more fair to say is all of us will eventually pay it.
Pay it back. Yeah. Speaking of loans. And Doug, tell them who we borrow a lot of that money from.
Banks, China, whatever else, because government debt, weirdly enough, is it sounds counterintuitive, but weirdly enough, government debt is kind of good for the economy, but it's kind of like drinking makes my golf game better. There is a point of diminishing returns.
Yeah. I was going to say, I know some people you golf with, and they disagree.
Well, it's like a few beers, and my golf game is better.
6 beers, not so much.
12 beers,
right? 4, motherfucker.
So all you got to do is take a pocket breathalyzer with you onto the green,
Right. When you get to a
and
certain
keep yourself in the pocket.
right, exactly. Nothing
Yeah.
fixes my golf game. Nothing. But what I really wanted Doug to say, and he said it, was China. Right. We borrow a lot of money off of China. So all of you folks that are like, oh, this Chinese made shit and fucking made in America and all that bullshit, you don't understand how economies work, right? You don't understand just how in bed we are. All of these rich fucking people, the reason shit's not made in America is because it's cheaper to have Chinese slave labor and ship it all over here and get your fucking widgets at Walmart, right? You're part of the problem when you go to Walmart and you buy all this Chinese made shit. So stop acting like, there's some big conspiracy when you're buying this shit, right? You want
China has some rather unique social norms.
indeed.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that may or may not be widely known, depending upon who you talk to, is China as a culture. They are really big on savings, hugely big on savings.
I did not know that.
And one thing that's going to be interesting is, a lot of their savings are encouraged to be in real estate.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I see what you're saying now.
So if the real estate market in China ever crashes for whatever reason, shit's going to get interesting. That's all I'm saying.
And look at all what a lot of people don't know is that China is buying up the United States in giant swaths, right? There's a lot of office buildings and property and things of that nature is being picked up by these Chinese conglomerates. You've got companies like Tencent that own tons of software. TikTok. Well, actually, I don't think Tencent owns TikTok anymore. But
they still like hold a majority or they hold shares. They just like pinky promise not to take the data.
we totally swear. Yeah, there's that's something I think everybody should research is just
they
how
own,
much
Riot Games, so they own League of Legends and Valorant,
huge games,
and
right? And we all know
share
that's
of a lot of games.
and that's what the United States has really been. We've been a software, giant for a long, long time, and now China's even starting to slink into that. But yeah, look up. I challenge people to look up just how much IP
and the film industry.
Yeah,
they basically own the film industry at this point too.
Yeah, which is why a lot of movies go the way they go. We've talked about how like Transformers just kept going and going and going, and people are like, how? Because the Chinese market fucking loves them. I think Fast and Furious was the same way. People in China, when you got 1 billion fucking people in your country, they can kind of dictate.
They can buy a lot of movie tickets.
Right. It's a global economy now, folks. It's not a new world order as much as it's just it's one planet again, or not again, but it's one planet. We're not as, when you can get on Twitter or get online and you can talk to your buddy in China, or you can see what's going on over there. I've joked that, if a gnat farts on the other side of the planet, somebody tweets about it, it in real time, so it's changed the way we do things, and you got to fucking accept it, man. Fighting it and trying to stay all national is just not going to work. Nope, it's not going to play out for you. So, speaking of playing out, Mr. Lester, why don't you play us out?
What does play me out mean? What does that mean to play us out?
Just play us out.
Fuck it. Yeah, we'll do it live.
Just play us out, man.